Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time of the day it is that you're joining us. If you are watching us at this moment, we sort of kind of look like night and day, but that's sort of the way things are around here. We like to call this Fred the Tulsa World Scene podcast. Um, we thought about calling him Frank, but that would create expectations I don't think we want to have to fulfill. So I'm joined here by my colleague, Jimmie Tramel. The lovely and talented Grace Wood is, as we say in the news business, on assignment and is not joining us today. We had considered talking about, since it's coming up, Valentine's Day, but two old guys talking about Valentine's Day just kind of seemed a little creepy. So we'll talk about something like the Super Bowl, and that's a good manly good manly topic for swapping manly stories. This year is, what year is it? 50 something.
57.
57. Good gracious. Are you old enough to remember when it started?
No, the first Super Bowl I watched live was 11. Super Bowl 11.
Okay. Let's see. The last one, the one that I remember, although I doubt it's the first one I saw, but was it was during the Roger Staubach era of the Cowboys. So early 70s.
Super Bowl 10 was a Staubach Cowboys Steelers Super Bowl, and Super Bowl 12 was a Cowboys Broncos Super Bowl.
I honestly don't remember who they were playing. It's been I've slept since then.
You've slept since then.
Yeah, so I don't quite, and I didn't do the research I probably should have. But oh well, that's my
Is it
fault.
must-see TV for you, the Super Bowl?
No, I'm really more of a fan of college football. I mean, if a professional game is on, I will watch it and enjoy, it in a kind of a abstract intellectual way. But as to being a rabid fan, it's been a while since I've felt that way about sports teams. But as opposed to my sister and her eldest daughter, who are dyed-in-the-wool Dallas Cowboy fans, and so they're disappointed this year, but
and for decades,
but it's a feeling to which I believe they have grown used to. So
well, because of its event status, so many people watch the Super Bowl that would never otherwise watch a game. If you look at the list of the most watched things ever in the history of the United States, it's Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, and one exception. Do you know what the one exception is?
I would guess the MASH finale.
That is it, exactly.
Okay.
And it's an anniversary year for that, by the way. I forget what the anniversary is, but it's one of those ends in zero type stuff.
83. So
yeah, 40 years.
40 years
since the MASH finale.
Oh, is it that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I remember watching that live. But and you're right. It for a lot of people, even if they don't have, if quote their team is not in it, watching the Super Bowl is a big thing. My father was a minister, and he could always, unfortunately, count on services being a little sparsely attended on certain Sunday nights and in January, because there were people that felt the need to be elsewhere. So
how do we feel about the commercials? Because to me, it seems like once the commercials became a thing, now they no longer could hit a standard. Like when the commercials weren't such a big deal, you were kind of pleasantly surprised. But once they came to be part of the show, now it's like they underachieve almost, at least in my mind.
Yeah. And even now this year, I've noticed a couple of, I don't remember the advertisers, and if I did, I probably wouldn't say, but they're already doing teaser commercials, watch the Super Bowl and find out what happens.
Sure.
And I'm kind of going like, what if you don't care? What do you have because I have one in mind. Do you have a commercial that in your mind sort of started the Super Bowl spot craze?
I can't swear this was a Super Bowl ad. It could have been just any ad during an NFL season. But the Coke commercial with Mean Joe Green, where he says, "Hey kid, catch." To me, that's the iconic football commercial of all time.
But what I was thinking of as the one that just started as an advertising thing was when Apple Computers introduced the Macintosh in 1984.
Yep.
They had the ad was called 1984, and it aired once during the Super Bowl. And you can find it now, but it was never aired after that first time. And so that kind of started the must-see TV. And another one that was similar was the Super Bowl in 2002. So it was after the 9/11 attacks, and it was Budweiser and the Clydesdales bowing, toward New York. And just thinking about it, it kind of chokes me up, which I guess it means I'm getting old and feeble. But I mean, that was another one-time Super Bowl thing that was really, really iconic and powerfully effective. And there are some advertisers that realize, they're making a statement, and so they're going to use the Super Bowl ad for that. And then there are others that are not. And so
it feels like now the commercials are as a result of trying too hard. That's kind of bottom line. How about the halftime shows? Is there one that sticks out in your mind as most memorable?
Not really, because I personally know that they've not. I'm sure that I know that there's been a lot of famous people do them, and there have been what have become kind of pop culture moments, the wardrobe malfunction of Janet Jackson and the like. But how about for you?
Well, I don't know if people know this, but there's kind of an Oklahoma connection as to how these halftime shows got so big. Is they weren't always big productions with a superstar, but one year, In Living Color, the television show on Fox, sketch comedy show, decided they would market Hype as Super Bowl halftime alternative show, where you switched over from the game to In Living Color and watched their halftime special. And one of the performers on that, it was very successful. They stole viewers away from the Super Bowl. One of the bands was Color Me Bad from Oklahoma City that performed on In Living Color. There's the Oklahoma connection. And gee, guess what? So many viewers went to In Living Color's show and went away from the game that Michael Jackson was recruited the next year to perform at the Super Bowl because they said, never again, we're not getting our viewers stolen away.
How about that? Okay. I did not know that. I learn something every time I talk with you. So
just nothing useful, nothing you can monetize.
As my father says about some things I say, it's just more of that useless stuff, but it can be entertaining at times.
As the food writer, what's in your Mount Rushmore Super Bowl food or snacks that should be at a party?
Oh boy. Well, it should. If you're going to, one of the things that is kind of has become a little football game tradition is sliders made with ham and Swiss cheese and baked, and they're very buttery. You put that everything bagel seasoning on the top, and those are very good. It's one of the few times where you can get away with serving the little cocktail wieners in whatever form you like, whether wrapped in pastry or dunked in. I used to do a kind of barbecue sauce with ketchup, pomegranate juice, and hot sauce that sounds odd, but is actually very, very good. And of course, everybody does nachos. And coincidentally, this Sunday, we will have a primer from the Made in Oklahoma Coalition on how to do tabletop nachos, which is where you basically take a table, cover it with foil or parchment paper or something, and you just spread the nachos out on the table, and everybody just sort of, I don't know, table surfs across them and gets their own. How about for you? Do you have
wings have become popular over the last what was the year wings became popular for football? It hasn't been always.
No,
but there was a year in history where wings became a thing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a pizza delivery guy on Super Bowl Sunday?
I believe it is the number one busiest day in the pizza industry is Super Bowl Sunday, because everybody is ordering things in. I believe that one of our colleagues has a tradition of ordering takeout wings from Hooters restaurant for their Super Bowl, like 60, 70, 80 and then there's what everybody else is going to eat. But anyway, so
if you're a pizza delivery person, it's either got to be a great night because you get a lot of tips, or the worst night ever because you just have no time to breathe whatsoever.
No time to breathe. And then if you are, when people are, and if you dare ring the doorbell during the middle of a big play, how dare you? They take that out on it like the person has been standing there waiting for. But anyway, oh well. Well, will you be watching this year's Super Bowl?
I've always watch. No matter. One year I did not watch because there's one player I despise so much. I just can't stand to watch. I couldn't stand to see him possibly have success, so I skipped it. He would have played for the Really Rottens on the Laugh Olympics back in the day if he was a cartoon character. I will watch, and I'll fill my belly on Sunday, and I'll even watch maybe the Puppy Bowl because Tulsa has an entrant Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, in the Puppy Bowl. It'll be, I forget what year for the Puppy Bowl, but it's an annual.
It's been around for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an annual adoption and rescue event that lets people know about these great places around the country that rescue doggies, and you can see them all play football on Super Bowl Sunday. Animal Planet.
Okay. They don't actually sort of play football. They just sort of do puppy things on something that looks like a football field, but it's if you need to get away from the violence and mayhem of the game, you can always switch over to Animal Planet and indulge in cuteness to the nth degree. So,
and they are playing for the Lombardi Trophy, so there is something at stake.
There is something at stake. All right. What else do you have coming up for the rest of the week?
On Friday, we have a recap of Fancy Dance. Was a Cherokee Nation Film Incentive boosted film that had its world premiere at Sundance, and it was a really highly visible first step for this incentive program where people come to Oklahoma, film a movie or a television program on the Cherokee Reservation, and you get a really nice financial incentive to come here and do that. Hopefully it will help make this more of a film and TV hub than we've already become.
Okay. Well, we're going to have an interview with Tulsa chef Paul Wilson. He was recently nominated for a James Beard Award for his work at Boston Title and Abstract. Although he's no longer with that restaurant, he's starting up a new endeavor at the Silo Event Center in West Tulsa on West 41st Street that is called Sans Murs, which means without walls in French. And that will have its first 2 weekends. The first one is this weekend. The next one will be the open the week of Valentine's Day. I was gonna, for some reason, thinking Thanksgiving, and I knew that wasn't the right word. So so that we'll have, those are some things you can check up. And I know that Miss Grace Wood is working on a piece about Mardi Gras and all those celebrations and how that's going to be marked around town. And we plan to have a review of, strangely enough, Bourbon Street Cafe, which originally opened in Tulsa in 1996. Worked for a couple of years. They opened one in Oklahoma City that really took off in the Bricktown area. They closed the one in Tulsa, and then just about 3 months ago, they opened up another Tulsa location in downtown. So we're hoping to have that for your dining and dancing pleasure next week. Well, that should do it for all of us here. Thank you all for being with us. Remember to look for the Tulsa World at fine newsstands everywhere and online at tulsaworld.com. On behalf of the absent Grace Wood and my friend Jimmie Tramel, we wish you a pleasant good day.
Behave.